there's going to come a day when we're making a bunch of money and you're going to be mad at me. You're going to be like, I'm doing all the work and
you're making more than I am.
You're making as much money as I am, and you got to ask yourself, you got to put yourself in that point, and if it's going to be too much for you, then we don't need to go forward.
Okay, if you were selling franchise over starting your own business, what would you tell someone?
So if I was telling somebody, as far as starting a franchise or starting your own business, it would totally depend on the individual. And it would depend on the concept as well, right? I think franchises are great because they teach you, they've made all the mistakes. They teach you what not to do as well as what to do. So that's a huge thing. But like we talked about, I think before we started today, there are businesses that don't really make a whole lot of sense to be a franchise.
All right. So that's my next question.
Okay.
What businesses do you not need to franchise?
So I told you I'm in a pressure washing business called Dirt and Grime. There are pressure washing franchises out there. We are not a pressure washing franchise. We might look at franchising it. I'd probably lean more toward developing people from inside and then investing them and opening additional locations.
Sure.
Opposed to franchising, giving them ownership in that location, opposed to franchising it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
I think that's a much smarter way to go than being a franchisor. Being a franchisor is a totally different nightmare.
What other businesses you don't need a franchise for?
Painting, I think that's kind of a dumb one because basically 9 out of 10 of the painting franchises are just working with subcontractors. They teach you how to go in and bid a job, then give the sub the business, and they come do the job. So that kind of thing. Plumbing, there's not a whole lot of money in plumbing as far as markup goes. I'm trying to think through just things that.
What about landscaping?
No, I wouldn't think landscaping would be a good franchise because, again, you got to think about. I mean, yes, they've made the mistakes, and yes, they can guide you on how to make money, and you can probably get to that money faster. But I mean, you or I could sit down at a table, and over the course of a couple of days, figure out a pretty good way to attack a market, right?
Sure.
Figure out how much equipment we're going to need, how we're going to market it, and that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty simple model.
Yeah.
Rock is an all dry, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are too. We have an all dry franchise in Atlanta where I got a young guy that's running that for me. It's kind of on the fence. We didn't have any knowledge of the water and mold mitigation business prior to getting in with all dry. Now we feel like we run our location in Atlanta better than the corporate location runs theirs. I mean, we're number one in that system.
How much can you tweak a franchise?
It's always an important question going into a franchise. When you're evaluating one, most of them are semi-flexible, but some of them are just married to their brand, and we've got to do it this way. I mean, Phoenix is a prime example. When I first opened my first location, they came in and they were like, they do texturing on the walls in the hallways. And, we've been working at this thing for 3 months trying to get it ready and get it ready to open and all that kind of stuff. And he comes in, he's like, man, that texture is it's just so busy. We might have to take it down and redo it. I'm like, there ain't no way.
No.
There ain't no way. I was like, this is, going back to your McDonald's, this is not McDonald's. You don't have to have the same Big Mac in Miami as you do in Seattle, because there's been there. If you're going to Madison,
Yeah.
you're never going to go into another Phoenix Salon Suites. You're never going to
No.
compare that texture from one to the other.
It's not Supercuts.
It's there's no need for that brand continuity across the board. So
That's good.
people that there are franchisors that understand that. You got to be able to sniff that out before you get into it, because if you get into I've gotten into one really bad franchise. It was a really bad experience, and they were a lot like that. They were. This is exactly how you have to do it, and if you don't do it this way, you're in big trouble.
All right, so that's one of my questions, and you may not be able to answer this, but I'd love for you to.
Okay.
What's the worst franchise out there?
The worst franchise out there?
Yeah.
It's going to fall into that kind of category as far and it's. Listen, there's good paint franchises out there. There's good landscape franchises out there. I just don't think that I would go down those roads. I think I would probably try to tackle those on my own.
Or buy an existing one.
Agree.
I think like my brother-in-law, Walker's Landscape.
Yep.
He stays as busy as he wants to be.
Yep.
He's told me multiple times he could double his business in 9 months if he wanted to.
Right.
I'm like, well, why don't you friggin' do it?
Yeah.
Well, he don't want to. He likes to what he works,
Right.
and that's great.
Yep.
But like buying Daryl's landscape business would be a good idea for me.
Makes a whole lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense. He understands that world.
As long as the agreements are solid, the business he's got in place, that kind of fun stuff, and as long as you're not paying too huge of a multiple.
Right.
So, yeah, all that kind of fun stuff.
So let me ask this next question.
Okay.
How do you exit a franchise?
Yeah, that's something I hadn't done yet. So,
Okay.
I've tried. I actually tried to sell my salon suites for a couple times. I didn't really market it that much. I had a buddy, and then a worker that took a look at it, and they just never pulled the trigger. And I don't think it's what God wants me to do right now. I think I'm supposed to be there a little while longer. I might hang on to it for my son and do what we talked about earlier. Let him run that business for a little while. With 5 of them, it'd be a pretty good full-time job for him. He'd learn how to operate a business. I could pay him decent, and he'd be good at the end. We bought some locations. So we bought my Smash My Trash is one of the franchises I own. We were in Birmingham.
All right, let's go. Let's just get this out of the way. I want a list. Okay, because I should have asked this question at the beginning. So we own Phoenix Suites.
Phoenix Salon Suites.
So
my first
go
one.
down. Just give me the list of the ones you currently own.
So Smash My Trash. I'm in a group in Birmingham that we expanded, and we bought the franchisee out in Huntsville, and we bought the franchisee out in Montgomery, and then along the way there we added the hauling portion of that business as well. So we haul. It's called heavyweight hauling. So we own 2 businesses under the same umbrella: Smash My Trash and heavyweight hauling.
What are you hauling with heavyweight hauling?
So Smash My Trash. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
So Smash My Trash is we have a big Kenworth truck.
Yeah.
It's got a big backhoe looking thing on the back of it.
Okay.
With a 2-ton cylinder at the end of the backhoe arm.
Okay.
It's got big teeth on it. So we back that truck up to 30 and 40-yard open top dumpsters.
Yeah.
Drop it in there, just roll it back and forth, and smash the trash down. So it's basically a mobile trash compactor for industrial, manufacturing, construction type places.
So what do you do with it when you smash it down? Are you just creating space for these people?
Correct. So the money, the huge expense is in the haul. So by smashing it down, we give them more room to distance out their hauls.
It's $400. Okay, give it a great. We've done multiple construction projects.
Yeah.
$400 a dumpster. So you go there.
Easy.
They
yeah.
pay you how much to smash their trash? See what I did there.
Typically about $100.
So they'll pay you $100 and they smash it down.
Yeah.
And they get double, almost double,
triple to quadruple.
Wow.
We reduced their hauls from 3 or 4 times to 1. So after they pay us, they're saving in the neighborhood of 20-25%.
So your referrals there are construction people, like.
Construction's okay. We really like manufacturing plants a whole lot more because it's consistent. Construction's bad.
Manufacturing, give me an example.
Like Polaris up in Huntsville.
Yeah,
is one of
right off the interstate.
One of our big ones. I mean, if they've got a dumpster, but the key there is it's consistent. With construction, normally it's a temporary job. And on a construction site, 9 times out of 10, all the workers park around the bin. So we get there, we got, move this pickup truck, and it's a little time consuming. So yeah.
So Phoenix, Smash My Trash.
So we're in Birmingham. I'm also in a group in San Diego for Smash My Trash. All Dry was next. It's in Atlanta.
Okay.
We've got, I think, 13 territories over there. We bought out a territory over there.
Okay, so you've talked 3 times about bought out so-and-sos.
Right.
Okay, so you're the one in Birmingham.
Yep.
You buy Johnny Smash My Trash in Huntsville. What does that look like? Is that just a fee to Johnny?
Defeated Johnny. Yeah.
So you just buy it. You just I give you $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
and then you take it over.
Correct. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, because Johnny in Huntsville wasn't doing very good. Johnny, it's a better market than Birmingham. I mean, we're making more money in Huntsville than we were in Birmingham. He just was not effective and listen, I got a dynamo that is running my Smash My Trash in Birmingham.
What makes this guy a dynamo?
So I've known Heath since.
What's Heath's last name?
Heath Reed.
Okay.
So that's my gig. So I said earlier, I'm a franchise consultant. Most franchise consultants pay thousands of dollars for leads. They sit on the phone all day long and call. What I do is I look for high income potential franchises and marry them with young Christian entrepreneurs. Heath, I've known since he was 15 years old. He is best friends with my best friend's son.
Okay.
So we'd go hunting. Jim would take me down, Ross would take Heath down, and we'd hunt together. And you could tell really early on that he was incredibly intelligent. He's one of the smartest guys I know. Nothing is going to beat Heath. If there's a problem, he is going to put his head down and he's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So Heath, I remember hunting. We were on the porch one night. I was like, Heath, you're a millionaire. You just don't know it yet. And that kind of blew his ego a little bit.
How old was he?
That time he was probably 22, 23 years old, still in college. He was an engineering major at Auburn. Got out, got a really good job at Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
I remember where I was in the parking lot of my Phoenix at Patchwork Farms. He called me up. He said, Dennis, I got a good job, but I look around at these guys. They're, 50, 55 years old, making $150,000. They look miserable. Yeah. I don't want to do this. He said, I want to be like you. What do I need to do? And I told him, I said, you got a very specific skill set. You're a good-looking kid. You can have a conversation with people. You can speak that engineering language. You need to go out and get a technical sales job, because sales is the lifeblood of any business, right?
Any business, yeah.
So he did. He went out and got a job selling conveyor belt parts and all that kind of fun stuff. Did it for about a year, and then Smash My Trash came along. So, and I just started franchise consulting. This came along. I was like, wow, that's a great idea, because it is.
Sure.
So we were hunting, and I told them about it. I said, if you're ready, we need to take a look at it. And that was late November. We had our first call, maybe early December. We had our first call with Smash My Trash on December 23rd. And, I thought, because it was a newer franchise, and Birmingham's typically a late adopter, that we'd be able to kind of breeze through and take our time with it. And she was like, no, we've got somebody coming in for Discovery Day on January 7th. So 2 weeks during the holiday. So we went through the entire discovery process, flew to Indianapolis and beat the other guy out in that period of time. So, so anyway, back to Heath, I'm a sales guy, but that's what I've been all my life, and I felt like I was a pretty good sales guy. Heath tells me that he's got clients that he hasn't sold yet. He's called 40, 50, 60, 70 times. I'm not that persistent. So if there's a door that is, he's gonna tear it down.
So
that's what makes
him
so
being
successful.
sales-oriented personality and an engineer is a
Yes.
little bit of an anomaly.
Total anomaly.
Because I got buddies that are engineers.
Yeah.
He ain't selling nothing.
So he's not a salesperson by nature. He's a salesperson by necessity. I mean, he'll tell you that an extrovert is energized by going out and talking to people all day. He's an introvert.
He gets home, he's gassed.
He gets home, he's gassed. It takes it all out of him. But again, nothing's going to beat him. He knows his weakness there, but he's turned that into a strength.
Wow. Salons, Smash My Trash, All Dry. What else?
So the other one we have right now is Everline,
Okay.
which is a parking lot striping and repair company. Max McGill, Heath actually found Max. Max was selling us fleet services for our trucks.
Okay.
Mechanic and taking care of our trucks and that kind of stuff. And Heath kind of gravitated towards Max, and we talked to Max, and we went through the discovery process on a few different concepts, and we landed on Everline.
So I was
couple
telling you
years ago.
earlier, the funny thing about Everline
Yeah.
is, so like a friend of mine and I, Shane Lewis, local Birmingham guy, we were this close
Yeah,
from buying a 1-800-Striper. Is that it?
I think that's right.
1-800-Striper franchise.
Yep.
They were very new. They only had like one or two, had their concept in Jersey, but then they only had one or two franchises that were going at the
Who'd
time.
you talk to? You remember? At 1-800-Striper. Wasn't Dave Schaefer's, was it?
It may have been.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
But we nearly Samantha Chamberlain was my main.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know her.
Was my main person there, but we nearly bought one, and I was talking. So I filtered just about everything through Rock Sandretto and Stephen Higgins, and then Kendall Graveman has kind of been brought in that group.
Okay.
So we talk or text every day.
Yeah.
There's 40 text messages on my phone right now, probably from those guys.
Yeah.
But I always love reading them because they're just great guys. They love Jesus.
Right.
They're very business minded.
Yep.
They're wonderful people. And he said, I got a buddy that owns a striping franchise. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, it's called Everline. So I looked you guys up.
Yeah.
We didn't pull the trigger on it.
Yeah. But we could have been competitors.
Yeah, we could have been. So the paint, do you like, is this a good business?
So I think it is. I think it's a little longer runway to profitability. And I'm not fully sure if that's just the nature of that business. I think costs are a little higher on it. I think we've got to get a little farther down the road as far as scale goes. I think we need another crew. I think we need to be running 2 shifts, and then it's a little seasonal.
Yeah. You can't do it when it's freezing cold outside.
You can't do it when it's freezing cold outside, and you're dealing with property managers that work on budgets. So you get a ton of bids in the 3rd and 4th quarter of a year, but you're not going to get those jobs granted to you until the following year after they get those budgets approved. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you got to try to find some winter work, which is, interior striping of manufacturing plants and things like that, which is not nearly as prevalent as parking lots. 'Cause
Outsides, yeah.
It lasts a lot longer inside.
So what? Any other franchises that you guys own?
That's it. Well, we owned a company called QC Kinetics. We just recently shut it down. It was a great concept, but that's the terrible franchise. That it was a franchisor that when you're evaluating franchises, you gotta look at how they're making money, and it should be almost exclusively just on the royalties. They were making money off of us on the supplies that we had to buy through them. They marked them up 40%.
Oh.
The marketing, we had to go through them. The real estate, we had to go through them. So they looked at us as multiple streams of income rather than a partner that they wanted to succeed. And it wasn't just us. I mean, we were actually
I remember this business. What was it exactly?
QC Kinetics.
I remember, what was it? What
we
were you?
did, you definitely heard us on the radio
Yeah.
if you listen to the radio at all. We did joint injections,
That's right.
platelet-rich plasma, stem cells, that kind of fun stuff. I did it myself, and it's fantastic.
That's a pretty high cost. That's
It
a
was
pretty.
$8,000 for one joint.
Oh my stars!
No insurance. So, it was very high end, very expensive, but it was a great concept. And listen, I don't know if you've got joint issues. You're young and you're fit. But,
Both my shoulders have been operated on. Don't have really any joint issues. I feel like I do a pretty good job taking care.
Rotator cuff stuff.
Capsule. I had a labral. I have zippers on both sides. So rotator cuff is a very loose term. There's
Broad,
five or six
right,
rotator cuff muscles,
Yeah.
and so I had a labral tear, which is not a rotator cuff muscle. It's it's part of your joint that holds it in. So I had to tear there, and then I had what they call a capsular shift on this one, a Bankart on this one, a capsular shift on this one.
But it was a full tear on this
Yes.
one? Okay. So,
Yes.
yeah, we can't help that.
No.
We can help if there's not a lot of cartilage there, if there's, that kind of thing. If it's a partial tear, slight tear, we can help with that.
Yeah.
But it's I was in love with it because I knew a little bit about stem cells, and it was a great concept. It's just a terrible franchisor. So,
Wow. So let me ask you this: what franchise model has the best owner upside out there that you've seen?
You're looking at mainly categories opposed to specific. I mean, Smash My Trash is by far, to me, the best model that I'm in. It's really the best model that I've seen come across the board, and I look at a lot of them. We've got over 600 franchises in our portfolio that we handle as franchise consultants. And it's great because it's repetitive money. It's a recurring stream of revenue.
So go back. Polaris pays Smash My Trash X number of dollars a month.
Yep.
To come smash their trash.
Yeah, and it's based on how many times we go, but they will forever produce waste. They can't not produce waste, right? So they will forever need our services, and as long as we do a good job with them and nobody comes in and does a better job, then that's a recurring stream of income that we'll get forever.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
So recurring is a huge deal to me. That's the beauty. I mean, salon suites are fantastic because we get money from those salon professionals on a weekly basis.
You said it's $305 a week or $305 a month?
A week.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a different number now.
Yes. It's a much bigger number.
She said $300 a month. I'm like, well, that ain't bad. Okay.
Yeah. No, you charge salon professionals weekly, and I hope they're not watching, but
Third time.
Go
ahead.
I know a lot of private stuff on this, but
Keep it in. Keep it in.
you don't let a salon professional keep their money for longer than a week because they'll blow it. They'll go spend it on jeans or a trip or whatever. So.
Go spend
And
it on jeans.
They know all this. Salon professionals are awesome because
They are.
I call them crazy to their face, and they're like, "Yeah, we are."
But
they embrace it. They're fun crazy.
They're
not.
Yeah.
I've had some crazy ones, but
Sure.
most of them are fun.
For the
crazy.
most part, yeah.
They're a lot
That's
of fun.
really good. Okay, let's just go through Smash My Trash. How many of those franchises are there nationally?
Probably franchisees.
Yeah.
Territories are probably between 2 and 250.
What number were you?
Gosh, I believe we were the third Discovery Day.
What?
I mean, with so a Discovery Day has several different franchisees come in at the same time. So there's probably 10 franchise candidates that came in for our Discovery Day. So we were definitely in the first 50.
What does that cost?
So As far as starting that franchise up?
Yep.
It was approximately between 250 and 300.
For the fee.
No, well, just for the franchise fee is $50,000.
Okay.
That's what the franchisor takes from you. And then after that, it was well, we bought 4 territories, so that was $155,000, I believe, is what we paid for the 4 territories. So after that, then you've got trucks and all the ancillary costs and that kind of fun stuff. So, and we finance most of the trucks. So,
How do you finance it? Bank?
yes, yeah, we financed the first one through my father-in-law's bank. After that, we financed everything through a Citizens Bank, I think, in Pelham.
So it's funny you say that. So everything that we do has to be financed in some way or form or fashion.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about IBC?
Uh-uh.
Infinite banking?
A little bit.
Oh, that was a negative O.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about it?
I got into it a little bit. Are you in it?
Yeah.
You love it.
It's a game changer.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it is a.
And you're doing the life insurance?
Yeah, it's cash value life insurance. When you get down to the nuts and the bolts of it, it's a game changer.
But you gotta
But you gotta understand it. It's not like you sit down for 20 minutes and you got it. Like you have to understand, and it's a long process. Like it's just like owning anything.
that's the part that turned me off on it.
Sure.
Just and stop me when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I learned about it probably 2 years ago at 52 years old.
Through who?
Gosh, he does a podcast I was on his podcast. I can't remember his name. No, he's a Smash My Trash guy. He's out of North Dakota. He's got a crypto farm. He's great. I mean, really,
he's killing it.
Really interesting guy.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, you need multiple life insurance policies. I mean, you can do one, but it just seemed like I was late to the game because it seemed like I was going to have to put a lot of capital in those life insurance policies where I could have that capital in play in the business world instead. So you follow my logic there, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying it's kind of like apartments for that matter. I feel like I'm too late to the game for that because really in apartments you're not really looking at taking a lot of money out of those. Mm-hmm. You're looking at paying those off.
Sure. And
then parlaying that money into additional properties.
Yeah.
So it's a balance. Multifamily housing is more of a balance sheet play than it is a income statement play.
Sure.
Makes sense?
And
tell me where I'm wrong, please.
Well, everything. So it is a savings warehouse.
Right.
Okay. Because you're gonna finance just about everything.
Right.
Okay. But what this teaches us is it teaches us to be our own bank. So the number one business on the planet is banking.
Sure. Yeah.
The nicest building in every city in America and probably in the world
Right.
is the bank.
Sure.
From Trussville to Lineville, Alabama to New York.
Yep.
The nicest, biggest building in the city
That's true.
is the bank. They understand how wealth grows because they totally understand that everyone out there has to have money. So when you get money, what's the first place you go to put it? Most of the time it's going to a bank.
Right.
Because you've got to then do something with it. You've got to pay off debt. You've got to pay for a car. You got to go buy this. You got to go buy that, whatever.
Yep.
When that money goes into their banking system, they can lend it out X number of times.
Right.
Okay? So I'll give you a great example. Bank of America paid out like $2.3 billion in interest to people that had money with them.
Right.
Okay? But here's the thing. They took in $48 billion in interest of what people paid them.
Right.
So in that, you are paying someone for the use of their money. Okay?
Correct.
So in the concept of infinite banking, you are paying yourself that money. Now, it's just like Salon Suites. You told me it's going to cost you $500,000 to build out this Salon Suite over at Patchwork Farm.
Right.
Okay? They gave you $220 or $200. It's going to cost you another $5.
Right.
There's a cost to ownership. In anything that we do, there is a cost to ownership. And so with this, you do have upfront costs. So if you put in, let's just use a good round number. If you put in $100,000, you're not going to have access to all $100,000 immediately because there's costs involved. Okay,
Right.
let's just say the number is 65. So you put in $100,000, you pretty much immediately got access to 65.
Right.
But as you build that banking system over time, okay, you will eventually at some point stop using Citizens Bank, Bryant Bank, whatever. So instead of paying them, like for example, we've got a HELOC right now. I did an investment with a HELOC. I'm paying 8.75% right now. That's a high rate for right now.
Sure.
It could be 5.
Yeah.
It's never going to be 4 again. Could go up even higher.
Right.
But if I had my own banking system was robust enough to where I didn't have to do that, then I would be paying myself that interest. Now, here's the thing. You got to be an honest banker. You got to pay yourself just like you'd pay
yourself
Bryant
back.
Bank.
That'd be my first problem.
Yeah.
My second problem would be having that much money set on the sidelines for that period
Yeah.
of time while it's not. Does that make sense? And
But here's the thing that Justin Kraft. So Justin Kraft, you know Justin?
talked to he's involved with the guys that I'm talking about.
Okay, Justin Kraft is as wonderful a human being as you'll ever meet. He learned from the guy that I say invented this process.
Yeah.
Okay, a guy named Nelson Nash. Justin looked at me one day and said, "Never start a policy unless you're going to use it." The death benefit part of this thing is so tertiary.
It's not.
You're going to have a guaranteed rate of return. You're going to have a dividend.
What's the return?
My guaranteed rate is 4%.
Okay.
There's some that are a little higher. There's some that are a little lower. My guarantee is 4%. Okay, but that's guaranteed for life. It's contractual.
Okay.
Because it's a mutual insurance company, so I'm an owner.
Okay.
So not only do I get that guaranteed 4%, I've also get a dividend. Now, is the dividend guaranteed? No, dividend is never guaranteed, but they've paid it out for the last 120 years. So it's pretty safe to say.
Pretty solid, right?
So you're going to get the guaranteed 4%, but you're going to get the dividend as well. Now, are you going to get a huge dividend the first year? No, you don't have enough shares. No, you don't own enough in that insurance company.
Right.
Okay, but here's the thing: it's uninterrupted compounding. Because if I put in 100 this year, I got access to 65 or 70. I put in 100 next year. It's almost dollar for dollar. So I'm at 170,000. I put in 100 the next year. It keeps on growing. So as I want to use that money, I borrow from that. It's like a HELOC. I borrow from that. But when I borrow from that, the compounding never stops. So it's still compounding. Let's just say it's the end of year 3 and I have 275 in there. It's compounding 4% dividend and a dividend on 275, even though I pulled out $200,000 and I'm using it elsewhere.
Well,
So
that's good.
it's uninterrupted compounding. It just,
And then
again,
what do you pay yourself? Do you pay yourself 4%? Or do you
pay yourself whatever you want to pay yourself.
You can pay yourself 0%.
You can,
Okay.
if you want to.
Okay.
Your brain's spinning, and I think that's good. It's not, are you too old? No, you're not too old. You're 54. You're in good health.
My problem would just be having 275 sitting on the sidelines.
But it's not sitting on the sidelines because you've got access to use it. Money's going to go somewhere anyway. Why not put it in your own bank as opposed to put it in Bryant Bank?
Well, because I'm probably going to put it in crypto or a trading bot I've got or a new business or.
But what if you need that money to do something? Are you just going to, where are you?
HELOC is my safety net.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got, I don't know, $150,000 left on my HELOC. So that's kind of, and I can't see myself getting in a situation where I need more than that.
So if you want to go buy another franchise, it's a home run. It's going to cost you $250,000. What are you going to do?
Probably part of it HELOC, part of it bank.
I think it's worth probably off camera. I think it's probably worth a
Okay.
longer conversation just to look
Yeah.
at it and know, because there's two things. Number one, you could do the policy on you, but you could also do the policy on your son, on your wife, or whatever.
Right.
Obviously, a policy on your son would be a lot cheaper than doing a policy on you. But then what I'm doing is I've got policies on all 3 of my kids. I'm going to teach them how to use this process.
Right.
Now, I've got a 15, an 8, and a 12-year-old.
Right.
Imagine what the 12-year-old's policy is going to be like.
Oh, yeah. No,
and whatever.
That's smart.
And so we're doing that now. The next thing is this, is a lot of people use this as a retirement vehicle.
Right.
Meaning, so let's just say I've got cash value of $1 million. And in probably 6 years, I'll have a cash value of $1 million in mine.
And it comes out tax-free, right?
Tax-free.
Yeah.
So it's growing.
Yeah.
And I can borrow whatever I want tax-free. So say I got a cash value of $1 million. Say my death benefit's $3 million.
Yep.
I have all $1 million out and I'm using it. Whatever. I get hit by a bus. It's okay. Because what happens is it just comes off the death benefit. That's how the insurance company collateralizes whatever money I've borrowed.
Gotcha.
So if I got a cash value of $1 million, so the cash value is always going to be a lot less than the death benefit.
Gotcha.
Okay, just like when you're HELOC, if you have $1 million home, they're only going to loan you $800,000, up to $800,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So the same thing with the insurance. So if I've got $1 million of cash value, my policies, my death benefit's $3 million. Right. So that means if I borrow $1 million, I got $1 million out there. I get hit by a bus, no big deal. Instead of paying my wife $3 million, they're going to pay her $2 million.
Right. Gotcha.
So that's where the collateralization of them loaning you that money, no questions asked, comes in.
Makes sense.
So it's again, we've got off on a tangent, but I think it's something that as business owners, it's been a game changer for me.
It's definitely worth looking at. I've told you my objections to it. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm right. I mean, I think it's worked out really well for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. So here's my next question. What is the hardest part about owning any of these franchises for you?
You know, we talked a little earlier about you being at the top of the food chain. That was probably the hardest transition, moving from that employee mentality to owner mentality. But now I know there's zero chance I could ever go back. I mean, I love being an owner. It was a hard part of the transition, not having anybody to go to when the stuff hit the fan. You know, it was all on me. I had to take care of it. So yeah, that's probably. I mean, but outside of that, I mean, you know, you got the roller coaster. I mean, there's days when you got 5 different fires going on that I have a pretty rough time sleeping anyway. And if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I got stuff going on, it starts spinning in there, and I'm not going.
I ain't going to sleep. I woke up this morning. This morning.
I've started working out at 3 o'clock in the morning to try to tire myself out to
so you
to
sleep better at night. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
So yeah, that's. But again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Just because I like making the rules.
Absolutely.
I don't like playing by somebody else's rules.
No.
You know, I got a buddy I play golf with every day, and he used to be a business owner. He sold his business, and he got, you know, a contract to stay on with them, and he hates it. I mean, he's a sales guy.
He hates it. But he plays golf with you every day. Let's go back to the reality.
I'm not going to tell you his name.
Yeah, don't. This is awesome.
He's a sales guy, and his organization is. I mean, they got bought out by a private equity company. It's run by a bunch of MBAs, and they think that he makes enough money, so they don't pay their salespeople a commission. They just pay them a flat salary. I mean, what's the incentive for a
zero incentive?
Why do I want to go kill something if I can't eat it? You know, so
my best friend John, who worked in sales.
Yeah,
he got every year. Late October, early November. The dude's a killer.
Yeah,
he's my guy. But late October, early November, he was with his company, and he got to his quota.
Yep.
He's a wonderful worker. But at that point, he can't make any more money.
It doesn't make any sense.
And so your boy shut it down.
Heck yeah, because
he can't do it anymore. But as an owner, my freaking foot would be on the gas.
Well, as an owner, I'd pay him more money.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, if he was the owner, and I've tried to convince him this, he's 44. I've tried to convince him this for years. We got to find you something
else.
Yes.
I mean, it
This
doesn't.
is a great conversation for John. I got to introduce you to John because he would be great.
But that owner is an idiot because if he just said, okay, everything after this, you get paid a little bit more on commission.
Yeah.
He would. That's 2-3 months worth of productivity.
More
that he would
productivity.
get. That is money in his pocket. It's just.
It honestly don't make sense.
Well, I guarantee you the people that own that are either MBAs or ops guys because they don't understand. If it was a sales guy, they would be like, we got to pay these guys because they're going to sit at home and watch football for the rest of the year. Right. And that's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing.
So,
does it bother you that you know nothing about the businesses that you're buying?
No. One of my first sales jobs was selling telecommunications, local and long distance and internet service to businesses. Well, this was back when you still had landlines and all that kind of fun stuff. Everybody needed it. So every single door I needed to knock on. And I looked at businesses and I was like, I can't believe you built a business around that. I can't believe you're making money with that idea. It just enamored me. I didn't grow up wanting to be in the trash business or the salon business or the striping business but they're all a means to an end, right? They're all, we've done well with all of them. And as long as my operating partners are happy and thriving and moving in the right direction, then I'm okay with them.
Do you find a franchise that you like?
Uh-huh.
The most important thing
It's the operator.
is finding an operator.
Yeah.
So you find a business and you find an operator.
Yep.
Do you give the operator equity in the business?
Yeah.
Tell me how that standard, a framework of how that works for you.
So cookie cutter would be they have I make them buy in. I mean,
Make them give some money.
they have to have skin in the game.
Agree.
Because otherwise they get 2 months into it and say, this is pretty hard. Here's the keys, and then I'm operating, and I don't want to do
doing
that. But I do only pick ones that I would be willing to operate if that happened. So we give them that, and then we give them a salary. Typically, I'm looking for younger guys that are making upper 5 figures at their
Current job.
Typically, I want them to take a little bit of haircut on that because I want to know that they understand that it's not about the paycheck, it's about building a business, and that the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of a successful business is a whole lot more important than $5,000 in salary on an annual basis.
So you do agree that there is a cost to ownership.
There is definitely a cost to ownership.
And you do agree that sometimes you have to take a step back
1,000%.
in order to take a step forward.
Huge step back. And it's a huge risk.
This is why you need to look at infinite banking.
Okay. Go back there.
So I think that's interesting that you want a guy to take a step backwards. At least not a huge step backwards, but you want a guy to take a step backwards in order so that he can see the pot of the, hey, this is where I'm going.
So I have every single one of my guys, if they haven't read it yet, I make them read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes.
Because I want, and I judge them based on how long it takes them to finish that book. Because it's an easy read, right?
It is.
It's
good.
You read it.
I have.
It turned your crank.
I read it 2 or 3 times.
And you probably finished it the first time in a week or so.
Yeah.
It's an easy read, right?
I read it in college.
It's a great read.
Yeah.
I read it at 28 years old.
Yeah.
Changed my life. One of the 3 books that changed my life.
What are the other 2?
Bible, obviously.
Yeah.
And then The Blessed Life by Robert Morris.
Both. I've read all 3.
Which just totally, I was already a tither, but it just changed my mentality about tithing, about the heart behind it, about the first fruits, about, first has the ability to bless the rest and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a give to get kind of guy, but when I started,
The Bible's extremely specific though about the first fruits, giving the first fruits, then I will open up the floodgates.
Correct. Yes.
So like we could talk about give to get all we want to.
Yeah.
I just go by what the word says. Give the first fruits, I will open up the floodgates.
1,000%. It's all about your heart to me.
It is.
And
It is, yeah.
I don't know. It could just be a coincidence, but
It works every time.
when I started tithing in like I've always tithed, but I started tithing with that mentality, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was worth $100,000 at the time. And, you know, I won't tell you,
Do you tithe off the gross or off the net now?
I go off the top.
Yeah. So my wife, so funny story, we weren't making any money.
Yeah.
I was making 14 grand a year. My
Yeah.
wife was making about 32.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was coaching college football. She was coaching high school football or high school volleyball. And I'm in charge of the finances. And she goes, "Hey, are you tithing off of like the big number or the little number?" And I go, "Well, I'm tithing off of what we get." And she goes, And she was not snarky about it at all. She goes, "Well, so you're telling me that the government is more important than Jesus?" Talking about conviction.
Yeah.
And so, hey, look, listen, from that day on,
Yeah.
we have tithed off of the gross.
Yeah.
And it's just been like, I tell everybody that.
And how many times does it run out?
Oh, never.
Never. So,
Never.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're looking at a potential franchise,
Uh-huh.
so when you're looking at a potential franchise to buy,
Yep.
Phoenix Salon,
Yep.
Smash My Trash, whatever. When you're looking at a potential franchise to buy into, what things in the operating agreement with the company do you want to avoid?
That's a good question. I don't read a whole lot of contracts.
But but you understand my question. Like these things, like you see this and you go, "Nah, bro, we ain't doing that." Or is there a number? Like, are there things that they can get you, quote unquote, by the balls a little bit?
A little bit, but typically, so the franchise world is pretty heavily regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So most of those things have been sniffed out fairly well.
Where they can't screw you.
You have to come up with what's called a franchise disclosure document. Did you guys get to that point with 1-800? So I mean, you know, it's a
Huge,
200
pages.
book.
Yeah.
So all that's mandated by the Federal Trade Commission. You have to have a lawyer. You have to pay them anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 to put that together. So most of that stuff's kind of sniffed out. The things that I look for, are you know, like I talked about earlier with QC Kinetics, and every one of these is a learning experience for me as well. So they're the only ones that make those multiple revenue streams. So that's something that, you know, I've got my eyes out for. All dry, you know, I said earlier, I think we run our location better than the corporate location. Well, part of our deciding factor in all dry was we went down to the Discovery Day and we sat across the guys that ran their corporate location, and there was not a whole lot. I wasn't really impressed by any of them. I'll take that back. None of them were so impressive that I didn't think we could do what they did. We talked about you being the business early. None of them it all seemed duplicable, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't some dynamo on the other side of the table that were like, oh, they're just successful because
Correct.
of that person.
Yeah.
Well, I was right, but the bad part about that was those same guys were the ones that were running the franchise, so those were the guys that we had to go to for advice, and none of them had any franchise experience. So
You had more franchise experience than they did.
correct. So my operating partner had more franchise experience than they did, so because he operated my Phoenix Salon Suites over there. So those are the kind of things I look for in a franchise. Simplicity. I look for models that do one or two things over and over and over again, opposed to having 15 different things that you got to be good at. Makes sense.
That's good.
Because it's easy to do. I mean, at Phoenix, the only thing that I really do at Phoenix is the suite tour. But I've done it probably 1,000 times over the last 10 years.
So the only thing you do with Phoenix Suites is you have a booth open, and Janine wants to, and you interview Janine.
I meet her there.
And give her the tour.
I give her the tour. It's really not even it's a presentation sale. It's not a hard close, because if Janine doesn't want to be there, I don't want her there.
You don't want her there.
Yeah. If it's not the right time for her, I don't want to push her into something she's not ready for.
You own how many Salon suites?
5 in Birmingham, 2 in Atlanta.
Okay, so you own 7. What's your occupancy right now?
In Birmingham, at the locations that our Phoenix is right now, we've got 69 suites. I've got 1 suite open.
That's pretty darn good.
We're full. We cost more money than our competitors, and nobody leaves us.
So technical question.
Okay.
Susie that pays rent, does she pay cash? Does it automatically debited?
ACH on
ACH.
Mondays. Yeah.
Nice. What are the most important questions you should ask when interviewing about being a franchisee? Sitting across the table from Aldra, sitting across the table from Phoenix, sitting across the table from Smash My Trash. What are the most important questions to ask?
Yeah, so the most important questions you're going to ask are of the existing franchisees when you go through the validation stage. Did y'all do that with 1-800-STRIPER?
We didn't get that far.
They might not have enough franchisees
They did not.
to really.
I talked to
do
one,
that.
but he hadn't gotten started yet. He was 4 steps beyond what we were.
Yeah.
But he had already paid the money, but he hadn't striped any parking lots yet.
Yeah. So when I have a franchise candidate and they've gotten that far, it's called the validation stage, where you talk to franchisees, find out what their experiences are. I tell them to ask 3 questions. Number 1, what does the franchisor do really, really good? Number 2, what do they need help with? What do they not do that well? And then the last one's probably the most important one. If you knew then what you know now, would you make the same decision again?
Wow.
So that's pretty much in a nutshell it.
Those are 3 great questions for any.
Pretty much anything, yeah.
That's really, really good. I wrote this question before this interview, but do you know the particular industry that you'd like to buy a franchise? But that's obviously not true. You go from trash to salons, so it really doesn't matter to you.
I really don't care. As long as the franchisor is solid, as long as the business model makes sense, as long as I've got an operating partner that is interested, that wants to cook that wants to cook that recipe over and over again.
To me, this whole thing gets back to who's the operator.
Oh, and
because Dennis is not going to go run the trash machine.
Correct.
And Dennis is not going to go, do whatever the hair salon. Like, you're not going to go remediate the mold in so-and-so's house and
No, absolutely not.
in Lassiter.
Yep.
So, like, you have to, like, that's the most important thing.
And so that's part of what I do when I find, and it's a whole lot easier to find franchises than it is to find young entrepreneurs that are willing to work hard. My guy, I'm trying to get my all dry guy to quit to sell the business because he's working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And I'm like, bro, this is unsustainable. He's
Are you making money?
Yeah.
But you're going to burn him out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. I would rather sell it right now and take that money and parlay it into more of a 9-to-5 sustainable type business. And
For him.
He doesn't have to stay with me. But I just see this as something that, he's 26, 27 years old right now.
Kids?
No kids.
Married?
Not married.
Oh,
he's engaged.
Cheat code.
Exactly. He's crushing it and he's doing a great job, but he's engaged. They're getting married next year sometime, and Mama's going to want him home every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, I'm just like, it's unsustainable. You can't do this forever. And he's like, but I love it, Dennis. I'm like, yeah, but. So anyway, he's trying to buy us out right now. I don't know if he can do it or not.
What about if you ever found a killer? If you ever found somebody, would you go search out a friend? I mean, is that the model? Meet somebody that you know could do it, and then go search out something to buy for that person, with that person.
So I've done it both ways. I found the person first, and I found the concept first.
Which works better?
I mean, Smash My Trash and All Dry, as far as distributions, as far as money making, they're pretty much in the same ballpark. And one of them, they were opposites. I found Smash My Trash for Heath, and Christian and I started looking for wound up landing on All Dry. So it's really more of a God thing than anything.
Sure.
It's a timing thing as far as finding that person at the right time, finding the right concept at the right time, and kind of going at it like that. So
Wow.
I don't think either one of them necessarily works better than the other. It's probably better to find if it's probably better to find the individual
Sure, I agree.
first, because that way you can evaluate multiple concepts
With that person.
and they can say, I mean, we looked at oil change businesses for Max. We looked at several things for Max but we landed on Everline because it just seemed like something that he really enjoyed.
What franchise business is out there right now that you really like, but you haven't purchased yet?
So I like there's a like and a dislike. I like the spa business, the weight loss, the Medi-spa type space. There's a ton of money in it. There's a ton of players. That's the only real drawback in it. But with the right marketing plan, with the right operating team, there's a ton of money to be made. I like that space. I don't like brick and mortar. I can't. Having build out and having to do all that. It's such a pain. So like with Smash My Trash,
you don't have it. All dry, you don't have it. Oh.
With Smash My Trash, the truck got here. We're smashing the next day. When you do brick, so my longest negotiation stage with Phoenix from the time we actually found the location to the time we opened was 2 years.
Oh, Dennis.
You're dealing with commercial real estate, you're dealing with lawyers, you're dealing with contractors, you're dealing with planning and all that stuff. And, going back to money on the sidelines, I made a purchase. I want that. I want it on the table.
I want my money to work.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not a very patient guy. So, I know we're going to get to that fruit of the spirit here in the series pretty soon, but that's the bad part about brick and mortar. The good part is, it can be fairly lucrative once you get there.
So what you're telling me is you like service businesses.
I do.
That's what Cody. So I told you about the girl. The girl's name's Cody Sanchez. She's pretty awesome. And she's worth. I don't know if you're a YouTube guy, but she's worth listening to, watching on YouTube, because she talks about. She loves the service business because of what you're saying.
Yes.
It's fairly easy startup.
Yep.
She broke down, and I probably need to send it to you. She broke down how to start a pressure washing business.
Okay. Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's like 20 minutes.
Sure.
And she just chunked it out for you. You could probably do that with a number of things.
A ton. Landscape,
painting, roofing. Roofing's pretty insurance intensive.
But it's one of those things where you're only doing one thing. So once you figure out that insurance element of it and how to inspect a roof and bring in the contractor for it, it's. I think you're right. I think that's another one that I wouldn't do a franchise for.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I know a ton of guys in that space, and they all knock it out.
They do good.
And they don't have a franchise.
Anything out there right now that you're like, okay, that's my next one?
Not really. I'd probably wait for the right person before I really start looking real hard. I've honestly cut back on the consulting part of things for a little while. And I don't, like I said earlier, I don't smile and dial. If somebody's watching this and they call me up and say, hey, I want to look at a franchise, I'm happy to talk to them. But I don't pay for leads. I don't do this on a full-time basis. I mean, I've had maybe 4 or 5 candidates this year that I work with.
Candidates? What do you mean? You say consulting. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying.
So I consult. So
with someone that already owns a franchise?
No, if you wanted to buy a franchise,
I got you.
You call me up, say, Dennis, I got $200,000. I don't want to be in food. I'd rather be in service industry. Don't want to work nights and weekends. I want to move it towards absentee, which is
Never.
That's a lie. There's no
A lie,
thing. There's no
people.
such thing as
Absentee ownership is a lie.
So, so I would try. So I've got 600 franchises, and the organization that I'm under, IFPG, has relationships with 600 franchises. Where if I search those franchises, find you one, you buy it,
You get a fee from that person.
the franchisor pays me.
Yeah.
You don't pay that franchisor any more money than you would pay him ordinarily.
But they pay. You get a fee.
They pay me for bringing them a superstar.
You're in essence a broker.
A broker, yeah.
That's great. So I suppose my next question is, where do you go and look for these things? Would you look for those in one of those 600
Correct.
ish?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so my knowledge of this has been, I've got 3 kids, and I've got a 15-year-old daughter. She's a beautiful volleyball player.
Yep.
She's pretty talented there.
Yep.
I got a 12-year-old son who is athletic, pretty intelligent. He's not a bookworm, but like he just gets it. He's going to be extremely successful. He is like your smash my trash kid.
Yeah. Love it.
So that's like so I sit there and I go, okay, if I've got him an IBC account to where when he's 18, he's going to have
He's ready to go.
When he's 18, he's going to have, I think it was about between $80,000 and $100,000 of cash value in that I obviously control.
Right.
But he's going to have that.
Yep.
But he's also got here's where you and I different. Like I dollar cost average every month in the market. Have been doing it since I was 18. So I've got a portfolio that I probably will never sell, but I can borrow off of and use that money to do whatever. So he's got one of those also. But I also pay him through my business.
Yeah, that's smart.
I don't pay him directly, but I take that money and invest it in his IBC. So like,
Gotcha.
It's moving parts, it's tax write-offs, all that good stuff.
Sure.
So my 3 kids are going to have capital to do stuff, whether they decide to go to college. They get scholarships, whatever. We're going to take that money, buy real estate, and go that route. If they decide not to go to college, I'm going to send them to Dennis, and Dennis is going to help them buy a franchise.
Yep.
So I told Rock, my dream is to build a network of people like Rock, J.D. Hill in Texas, Aaron Shoemaker in D.C. is a great friend of mine, Stephen Higgins here, Kendall Graveman here, is to build a network of people that know and love Jesus, that understand and get business.
Yep.
That when Tegan, Jonna, or Georgia, my 3 kids, get to a certain age and they want to go do something, I can send them to Dennis.
Plug them in.
And say,
1,000%.
go learn from Mr. Dennis. You want to do land investing? Go to see Mr. JD. You want to do salons? Go see Rock and Brittany.
Yep.
And let them go get their education from those people. That's like when I meet people, I'm pretty particular about like who we spend our time with.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that whoever's in that circle, I would go send my kids to be with when they become of age.
That's a good barometer.
And so that's I'm glad of this relationship.
Yeah.
Because just understanding what you do after sitting here for over an hour and a half right now has been extremely enlightening. It makes me want to say, where is there one I could go? I've thought about this for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I've kind of stayed away from the franchise thing just because you hear different things. Oh, the fee, all the this, all of that. But I'm like, you know what? Like I've started multiple businesses. I've failed miserably at one of them.
It hurts.
Like, they don't want you to fail.
No.
They don't want you to fail at All Dry, at 1-800-STRIPER, at Everline, at Smash. They don't want you to fail. You are making them money.
1,000%. The more money you make, the more money
they make.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. It's always been something that I've thought of. And,
Yeah.
I never know. Who knows what the next 5 or 6 years would entail for me. And I'd love to. My biggest thing is finding that operator.
And that's everything, because you don't, let's be honest. I'm using other people's time and effort and I'm making money off of it. I invest in them not only
But they don't have the money.
monetarily
You're investing your money that you've earned.
and my time and
Yeah.
and my so yes, they and they're all grateful for it. I mean,
Yeah.
Heath is like, what are we going to do next? So, he understands that without me, and that sounds arrogant. I hope that
No, it doesn't.
But you understand what I'm saying. He would not have this opportunity if it wasn't for our relationship and how God brought us together. So, but finding that individual, and I tell them all, I honestly tell them, listen, there's going to come a day when we're making a bunch of money and you're going to be mad at me.
If someone wants to talk to you, someone is interested in franchising, and they see this dude's got it, he could help me.
Yeah.
Where do they need to go to find you?
They can call me.
Okay. Throw it out there.
Phone number 205-422-5661. They're going to put my email in the liner notes
We'll put there. Yeah.
because it's
Long.
really long.
Yeah,
So,
sure. So we'll put the email in all the notes, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff.
But
That's
yeah,
good.
and if you just want to talk business, I mean, we're like you said, we're almost at 2 hours right now.
Yeah.
I could still go for another 2 hours.
too.
I could talk business for
know.
days.
Yep.
So
Perfect. Dennis, this has been unbelievable. One of the best episodes we've had, and I really appreciate it.
thanks, Tom.
All right.
Appreciate it.